Hey everyone, it's Jess. Today I have a very special video. David and I just got back from our honeymoon and I filmed the whole thing. So I want to tell you all about it. I want to show you all of the videos that I took, all of the pictures that I took over the trip. I wanted to record it all so I could show it all to you and so I could keep these memories forever. So without further ado, this was my honeymoon. So a little bit of a backstory. David and I got married back in September 17th of 2017 is when we got married. I've mentioned this in a couple of videos before and I'm actually going to make an entire video about this, but basically our wedding was beautiful, but everything went wrong. One of those things that went wrong was our honeymoon had to be postponed. We were originally scheduled to spend 5 days on the island of Kauai in Hawaii at a resort, and we were supposed to leave the day after our wedding. However, David, my husband, broke his hand 2 nights before the wedding, and we decided to postpone the honeymoon because we would have had to cut the 5-day trip shorter in order to use that time off that we had from work in order to go to orthopedic surgeons and stuff to talk to them about his hand, and he wouldn't have been able to go in the water because he had a soft cast. So we decided to postpone the honeymoon to a later date when he would have his cast off. As our replacement honeymoon, we decided to book a cruise, which is something that we had been wanting to do for a while. We'd been on one cruise before together. He's been on a lot of cruises, but that was the only cruise that I had been on before, and we wanted to do another one. We decided to do an 11-day Hawaii island hopper cruise through Carnival. And the entire trip in its entirety was incredible. But I wanted to show you all of the specific things that we did for our honeymoon that were just amazing, and I want to share them with you. I'm not going to be able to keep the dates straight, but I do know that the first day of the trip was April 20th. David and I flew from Denver to Honolulu with a layover in Seattle. And the flight from Denver to Seattle, we had first class, which was the first time that we had ever had first class, either of us. It was incredible. I got a little bit of footage from that. It was just so exciting. It was such a great way to start the trip. It was early in the morning, but having first class seats on our way to Seattle was just incredible. Fast forward to getting to Honolulu, we got into Honolulu, grabbed our bags, got on a shuttle to get to the cruise port. Once we got to the ship, we knew that the ship wasn't going to leave until the next day. So we had 5 ports scheduled on the cruise, the first one being Honolulu, and it was going to be in Honolulu for 2 days. So we figured we wouldn't really plan anything ahead of time for Honolulu because we were going to be there for so long. And once we got there, we figured if we wanted to get off the boat and do something, then we could, or we could just stay on the boat for those 2 days until we left on the second day of the cruise to go to our next port. And while driving through Honolulu in the shuttle on our way to the cruise port, we loved it, but we decided that we were going to stay on the ship for those 2 days. Day 2 of the cruise, at night around dinner time, we left Honolulu and the ship started sailing to Kauai. Kauai is a beautiful island in Hawaii, and we were super excited to go because that was where the original honeymoon was planned. When we docked in Kauai the next morning on day 3, I have some footage I'm going to show you. I hope you don't find it like too sad because it was a nice moment for me, but here's the footage from that. So we're docking in Kauai and I'm like looking at these mountains and I'm like crying. Don't know why. It's just always been a dream of mine to see this, and I never thought I would. And I'm just so happy. It's so beautiful. And I'm so excited to see it all today. And I know I probably look stupid, but I don't care. It's just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I think just the combination that it's Earth Day today, and that we're here. I'm just like, I have this huge amount of gratefulness to be here. It's always been a dream of mine to see the Pacific Ocean and Pacific Islands. I think another reason I was really emotional that morning was because this whole trip was paid for by inheritance money from my grandparents. They knew when they were passing away that they were not going to be able to be a part of our wedding. So that was something that they left in their will, was money for us to go on this honeymoon. So I think that that was another reason that I was really emotional too that morning, because it was the last thing that they were able to give me. Kauai was absolutely beautiful. It is where they filmed Jurassic Park, and in my opinion, the entire island looked like that. we had something planned in Kauai, but we had to cancel our plans because, unfortunately, the week before we got there, they had what they were calling the 100-year flood. They had, I think it was like 28 inches of rainfall in 3 days or something like that. It was just an incredible amount of rainfall. And the north shore of Kauai was completely flooded out. There were businesses and million-dollar homes that were completely destroyed. Every branch of the military was there while we were there. However, we decided to stay away from that side of the island in order to be respectful of what was going on there. I felt really uncomfortable being a tourist in this kind of climate, but there was really nothing that we could do about it, you know, because it was through the cruise. So we decided to stay away from that side of the island and be respectful of that and go and pick something else to do. So we had originally planned a hike near some waterfalls that were close to the port. But instead, we took an Uber to the south shore of Kauai and we went to the Hyatt Regency Resort, which conveniently enough is the resort that we were originally booked for the original honeymoon. And the resort was absolutely stunning. It was beautiful. We were walking around the resort and our goal was to get towards this hike that was really close to the resort. That was this like cliffside hike. And it was just, again, completely stunning seeing the cliff sides. We were maybe like 30 feet up. We walked around the resort. I took a lei, took some pictures, and it was just really a nice time. That's all we did in Kauai. We took an Uber back and got back on the boat, and then we left, the ship left the port around dinner time to go to our next stop. The next morning on day 4, we landed in the port of Kona on the Big Island. From when I looked it up, I think Kona is on the west shore of Big Island of Hawaii. This was the only port that we had to what's called tender in, which meant that the cruise ship was too big for the port and that it needed to stay out at sea, and they were gonna like ferry us back and forth on these smaller boats in order to get into the port. We did have a little bit of a dramatic experience on the tender boat when we were on our way in, which I'm not really gonna talk about because it kind of sucked. But basically there was a passenger of the cruise ship that was causing a lot of drama and just being a completely horrible person. So I'm not going to talk about that because that really sucked. We finally got onto Big Island in Kona. And honestly, if I were to ever move to Hawaii, Kona would be my top choice. It was absolutely beautiful. It was lush. It was like farmlands and also like city, and the food was incredible. One of my goals with this trip was, it might sound kind of random, but one of my goals was to try Hawaiian papaya, because I don't know if this is true, but I've been told that the shipping process to bring papaya to the mainland changes the flavor. And everyone has told me if you try papaya on the islands of Hawaii, that it tastes totally different. And oh my God, is that true? It was so good. And I really hate papaya here on the mainland, but papaya there, oh my God, it was like to die for. I got this really beautiful vegan breakfast where it was supposed to be like a yogurt parfait, but I just got it without the yogurt and without the honey. And it was just like a granola fruit thing. It was absolutely gorgeous. And then David had also an amazing dish that he really loved. It was like an eggs Benedict dish, but it was on a crab cake. And so he just like absolutely loved that. And it looked really, really good too. After breakfast in Kona, we signed up for a hop-on, hop-off tour of Kona. So we started at a coffee farm and we were in the Kona Coffee District, which was really interesting to see like how specific they are with growing their coffee, because their coffee is known worldwide, and everything that goes into running a coffee farm. We saw tons of fruit trees on our way there. Again, it was like beautiful farmland, and apparently there's a lot of like small family farmers that live there. The whole area was very lush and and filled with food, and I just wanted to eat all of it. So it was really, really cool. After that, we went snorkeling, and snorkeling was also incredible. I didn't get any video, but I got some pictures. David took tons and tons of pictures. I think he said this was his favorite part of the trip, which was great. He loves saltwater fish. He grew up with saltwater tanks in his home with his parents, so he was just really fascinated to see all of these saltwater fish. And the coral was like super bleached, which was really a bummer, but it's a pretty highly populated area of snorkeling, so I'm just assuming that the coral is really damaged just from people like stepping on it and stuff. But the snorkeling was amazing. I cut myself on some volcanic rock that was in the shallower parts of the water, but I was fine. And then we walked around through this little like downtown tourist trap. And then we got back on the boat, and the boat left again around dinner time and headed to our next stop. The next morning we arrived in Maui. Maui is its own island, and I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce where we docked. Unfortunately, all of our plans in Maui were weather dependent, and the weather was really not crappy, but it was like really cloudy and rainy. So we had to find something else to do. So we rented a car and we headed to Iao Valley, which is like a mountainous part of Maui, in like the mountainous rainforest, and it was absolutely beautiful. We loved it. It was one of my favorite parts of the entire trip, was seeing this like beautiful mountainous rainforest and all of the waterfalls and stuff. It was so pretty. We are in Maui right now, and we went up to Iao Valley, which was amazing. It was so pretty. We weren't there for very long though, because it started like downpouring. And then we went to lunch, and it was so good. We went to, it's called Poi by the Pond, and apparently, or no, Poi by the Pound is what it's called. And apparently it's the only authentic Hawaiian restaurant in all of Maui. I'm trying to like read what we said, or what we got. We got some pork thing, and then another pork thing called pork lau lau, which David said was really good. And then we got chicken, poke. We had poke, which apparently is like a raw tuna, which was really good. And then we had lomi salmon, which was also raw, and that one was also really, really good. And then a salad with like a papaya dressing on it, and all of it was amazing. I was able to eat the seafood because it didn't have any dairy in it, so that was good. So we tried poi, which is like it's a staple Hawaiian food, and it's made out of like a root. It's this like purple pasty stuff, and they put it on like everything. Not my favorite, but I'm glad that I tried it. After that, we still had some time to kill, so we decided to see a movie, because there was a movie theater right by the port where we were docked, where the cruise ship was docked. There was a Hawaiian movie that was playing. It was like a Hawaiian production that was playing in the theater, so instead of seeing something that we'd be able to see on the mainland, we saw that movie. Here's some footage about that. We decided that we had enough time on our hands to kill to see a movie. It was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. It was so bad. I'm not going to tell you the name of it because I don't want to be disrespectful, but it was just a freaking mess, and it was incredibly entertaining. So maybe I should mention the movie and thank them for the comedy. So we are... Stop. We are... We're gonna hang out here. We're gonna hang out here. Not here in the room, but we'll hang out somewhere on the ship until sunset. Basically, the movie was like dog shit. It was poor acting, poor writing, poor special effects. It was just really painful to watch, and I honestly wanted to leave. But it was very educational, and I learned a lot about the Hawaiian culture, so that was interesting. After Maui, we sailed throughout the night again and then went to our final stop on day 6, which was Hilo, which is an area of Big Island, I think on the east coast of Big Island. It was amazing. Oh my god, Hilo was my favorite. We are going to a volcano park and we are going to see, I think it's the biggest active volcano in the world, so hopefully we'll see some lava and stuff today, and then we are also going to go on a really short hike to see 2 of the waterfalls that are on the island. This is our last stop before we head to Vancouver, and we're going to be in the Pacific for 5 days straight. So we are going to get as much as we can out of being on land, and then we are going to get back on the ship and have a great night. We saw an active volcano like spewing lava everywhere. It was so cool. That was something that David really wanted to see, was he wanted to see lava. So that was really cool. It was incredibly active that day. And just so you know, this was not the volcano that erupted a couple of days ago. However, we were about an hour away from there, but we didn't see any kind of like seismic craziness or anything with the volcanoes while we were there. It was just that this volcano was like super active that day. One of my favorite things to learn about with the volcanoes was the fact that the Hawaiian goddess of Pele lives at the bottom of the crater that we saw. Apparently she's like a very finicky goddess, like she is very temperamental. And so that was really interesting to learn about. We brought some volcanic rock back from Hilo, but we made sure not to grab it from the sacred area. We made sure to grab it from a different part of the island that wasn't sacred. So we were trying to be respectful of that. After that, we drove through part of the rainforest, and it was probably one of the most scenic things I've ever seen. On one side of this highway was like this gigantic cliffside that went all the way down to the ocean. You could just see the ocean forever. And then on this side of the highway was like mountainous rainforest, like these big valleys and stuff of these gigantic mountains with beautiful rainforests in it, and that went as far as you can see. It was absolutely gorgeous. We went hiking at Akaka Falls, which is, I think it's a 300-foot waterfall. I'm not sure if I'm correct with that, but it was this like gigantic waterfall. It was beautiful. And there was also a second waterfall that was right next to that, but I cannot remember the name of it. I was talking to David and I was like, this is my spirituality. Like seeing absolutely beautiful land and knowing that it's untouched and just all of this stuff, just it made me feel so spiritual and so happy to be there, and just incredibly happy. We got back on the boat in Hilo, and then we started our 5-day at-sea journey from Hilo in Hawaii all the way up to Vancouver, Canada. Those 5 days were incredibly interesting. However, I didn't get a lot of footage from it because the reason that they were very interesting is because I got incredibly seasick. I was on Dramamine, but it wasn't quite enough to get rid of the seasickness, so I just tried to distract myself as much as I could. In the early parts of the 5 days, I spent a lot of time in the jacuzzi because being in the water, it kind of like rocked me with the boat, and so it it completely took away the seasickness, which was really nice. However, because we were in the Pacific and we were steadily going north, we experienced a lot of like colder weather at the end of the 5 days, so I started to catch a cold, and so I tried to like stop that in its tracks and not go in the jacuzzi anymore in like 40-degree weather because I didn't want to catch a cold, like completely catch a cold. So couldn't stay in the jacuzzi forever, which meant that I spent a lot of the time in the room, which I was fine with because it was just an amazing experience to just hang out and like read my books that I brought with me and journal and just have this time to like be by myself. No one was able to contact me because my phone was off, and it was just so nice. I've got some footage from all of that, and from the some more footage from the 5 days at sea here, so you can see that. And then at the end of the 5 days, we landed in Vancouver. Vancouver was amazing. Literally all we did was get off the ship, get onto the subway, and ride the subway for 45 minutes to the airport. And it was amazing. I loved the city of Vancouver so much. I understand why it's so expensive to live there, because it's like amazing. It's everything that you would want in a big city from the limited experience that I have. It was clean, it was young, it was professional, it was vibrant, it was easy to get around. It was just like perfect. So David and I are gonna go back on vacation specifically to Vancouver at some point, so we're really excited about that. And then we came home, and we've been home for a week now, and everything is going really well, like integrating ourselves back into society. The trip was all in all amazing. David and I had such a great time, and I'm so glad that I documented all of it so I'm able to look back and see it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed looking at all of the stuff that we did in Hawaii. I'm sorry that there was a big lapse in uploading. I think I went like 2 or 3 weeks without uploading, but it's because 11 days of that was me being in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So I'm sorry if you missed me, but thank you for missing me. I'm back to a regular upload schedule, which I'm really excited about. I am going to now be uploading every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So I'm uploading 3 videos a week, so look out for that. I've got tons of new ideas of things that I want to do with my YouTube channel, so let me know down below what you thought of the trip. Let me know if you've ever been to Hawaii, what you thought of it, and I will see you all later. Bye!